congratulations on this show. It
Thank you
is,
very much.
oh my God, so much fun. My husband and I started watching, they had sent me early, and we started
Mm,
watching it and we didn't stop. The only time we stopped was because there was
mm.
some episodes that still had some of the green screen and we didn't want it to be ruined. We really wanted to watch it
Uh-huh.
when it was
Yeah.
solid. It's so good. I had no idea what to expect.
Oh, I'm so pleased. I'm so happy that you enjoyed it and got all that from it. Green screen or no.
Yeah, and then, the music, my husband's like, wait, that's the Shawn Mendes song. Wait, that's Ariana Grande. I'm like, what?
Yeah, we're sneaky like that. There's
It's sort of,
definitely a sense of fun and mischief, like weaved throughout everything. It's in the thread of the edit, the music, the acting, the costumes. Like this, we're in a mischievous place.
so have you ever read a romance novel before you got this job?
I mean, I'm not big on boxing things into genre. I think most things are romances to various degrees. It's all about kind of how far along the dial you dial that in.
Right.
And so kind of the answer would be yes, I assume I have, but also I don't think I've read anything that is within the kind of romance scene box. So it's my favorite thing about this job is new things and new experiences. And this is a genre that has been very, very fun to play around in.
It's a new show, so tell everyone, what is Bridgerton? What should we expect? What's the plot? What's different about it?
Bridgerton is something a bit like if Jane Austen met Gossip Girl and maybe 45 Shades of Grey. And so we have a lot of fun in period costume. It's set in the Regency period in 1813. It is a romance and a fantasy, and it is a big, warm Regency hug that we're delivering to you just for Christmas. It's that.
Wow, they gave you those talking points. It's a hug.
Brother, don't sell me short. I gave them the talking points.
It is more than a hug, though.
um, it strays into various forms of intimacy. Um,
Spoken like a Brit.
we do our best. We're very, very good at our euphemism repression game. And that's very much kind of where we're playing here. It's the fact that everyone has the same furtive desires below the surface. It's just so much more fun when there's that bit of resistance before you can express it.
And then the diversity and every person's shape, size, orientation,
Mm-hmm.
gender is there, which is so amazing. I mean, you're
Well,
playing like aristocracy. When was the last time you saw that happen in something that was based in a period piece?
well, it's very simple because everyone deserves to be there. Like I said, if it's this
Mm.
big Regency hug at Christmas, if it is this Cinderella fantasy with great big dances and balls and jewels and dukedoms and glamour, why on
Mm.
earth would you limit who gets to receive that and who gets to play in that game? It's a great game. It's a great place to hang out, and we all get to hang out and play together.
You play Simon. Tell us who Simon is.
Simon is a tall, dark, mysterious, shadowy, charming, thoroughly broken, problematic man, and comes with all of the attraction and repulsion that comes along with that. He's this great, glamorous shadow that needs to find himself and learn how to love and be loved.
And how many times did you take your shirt off in the first season?
I mean, that's a categorization question because the difference between taking my shirt off and having my shirt taken off.
Oh.
We might need multiple columns for this. I am shirtless a little more than I have been in the past. I've been sending out the warning texts to my family, like the family WhatsApp group is full of kind of exclamation points and the little like flashing red light emoji, just kind of going, yo, I know everyone's kind of excited for this, but just so you know what you're getting into, there is some derobed reggae going on this Christmas. So a bit.
So, what pressure were you under to stay in shape? Were you the actor who was doing push-ups when you knew you were doing the shirtless scene?
I mean, I am. There's different angles to that. There was a lot of physical training for the boxing stuff anyway. I don't know if you got that far before you kind of pulled back from the green screen. And we got these big kind of boxing set pieces. There's lots of horse riding. So there's a lot of physical activity involved. So I was kind of on the full Rocky regime for this. I was up at 5 a.m. every morning, going to the gym, meeting my trainer. He was horrible to me for an hour and a half every morning before the day started. So I kind of got my strength up just from surviving him. And that kind of did its own work. And luckily, the pretentious actor in me could justify that, because I do always start building characters from what the physical language is. If this guy's a boxer, if he's a horse rider, if he's a fencer, what does that do to the body? Like, how do you carry yourself? And so this training kind of worked in with that and took care of itself, because also you are serving the audience in a genre that is about fantasy and glamour. And half of the time, my wardrobe is not wardrobe. So I had to make sure that that was tailored as well.
Talk about the wardrobe of this series. I mean, it is just...
It's incredible.
What was it like walking onto set one of those days where it was like a party scene, and it was just like, it was an explosion of colors and layers. It was just gorgeous.
I mean, this is very much where we're at home, where we swim on this show. It's all about this delivery of the Cinderella fantasy, these kind of huge set pieces where everyone's in these amazing ball gowns, and the men are in these kind of these shirts and cravats. They're not cravats, they're stocks. I got told off for this a lot by the wardrobe department. And the waistcoats, and it's all kind of embroidered and fine detailed. But again, these were some of the earliest conversations I had, because I came straight off the plane into a wardrobe fitting. And we started talking about, okay, well, what can we say with the wardrobe? And it is in every detail, because we're talking about, okay, so Simon's this kind of Byronic archetype. He's very much in the vein of Lord Byron and the type of characters that he writes, who's the type of character people are reading about at this point. So we were talking about his neckline is different to everyone else's, because he's kind of doing this Byronic thing where he's also wearing this jewel, and he's bringing these influences in from the East, where he's been traveling, like around Mesopotamia and around Greece. And so how can we do that in what the patterns he's wearing on, what the stitching is? And every character has this kind of detail. So it's both very, very bright and glamorous and shiny, but also a place where I think we relished telling the story.
Was the wardrobe comfortable? It looked very starched.
I think the short answer is no. The longer answer is it's very layered. And also, surprisingly, it's probably at its least comfortable the less of it you're wearing, because the bits that you don't see tend to be when you're kind of taped in. And so I went through a few days that were a little bit like that scene in The 40-Year-Old Virgin, where it's kind of like, okay, we're done with that scene now. Now we've got to de-tape you. And it's like, okay, take a deep breath. So uncomfortable all round, but hopefully worth it for the experience.
So what was the wrap party like for season 1?
A lady couldn't possibly tell. It was fun. It was fun. I think folks had a lot of fun. It was such a celebratory type of production. And we'd been through so much with so much travel. It was a very long shoot. It's not an easy shoot to coordinate, and it's such a massive crew. I think at one point someone told me that we had a crew larger than Star Wars. So like we weren't doing this by half measures. And so I think there's a lot to celebrate at the end of an experience like that. So it was a fun wrap party.
Being in that Shonda Rhimes world, do you sort of pinch yourself sometimes and be like, what? Where am I?
A little bit. I try to remember and practice gratitude, because it is a very, very privileged place to be. But also it's a place that I've chosen to be again, because I like this company. I like these people. I like the ethos within this environment. I like that whatever we're making, I know that the company behind it has human aspirations as well as corporate aspirations. They like to empower people. They like to make people feel good when they watch the shows, but also make people think about the world that they're inhabiting and how we can make that better for each other, how we can be more human for having made this piece of fantasy entertainment. And that's a very, very blessed place to be, you know? And so I'm very, very grateful for that. And try not to be too cowed by it, because it can be overwhelming, I suppose.
This show obviously is groundbreaking in many ways. I think just a few years ago, this show would have a really hard time being made. Why was it able to be made right now? Obviously, Shonda Rhimes, she has a track record. But this is,
Mm.
like you said, this is something different. You're really like just sort of throwing that genre up in the air and going boom.
I think we're at a point where people are ready to see new versions of the world they thought they knew in all kinds of ways. I think the social conversation in the world has reached a point where people are like, this, the world we thought we knew is incomplete. And there are new perspectives to all the stories that we have been remaking. And also, we spent the last few years doing a lot of remakes. Like, this is kind of the industry joke, right? It's like another remake or another sequel or another old IP being resurrected. And I think that we're at a point where we are very, very hungry for new versions of stories and for reinvented versions of stories and new perspectives on things rather than necessarily just a comfortable pair of shoes to slip into. You know, we kind of want both. We want it all.
And I know we joked a little bit about lots of intimacy, as you called it. But did you have an intimacy coach on set? I imagine you probably did.
Yes, absolutely. We worked with a wonderful intimacy team headed by Lizzie Talbot, and it frees up the work of your actors so much to have someone direct and guide you, and protect you and look after you. It's a little bit nuts that people ever did this without one. It's, you know, not impossible. You still have lots of good-natured people trying to look out for each other, but it's like getting on stage and swinging a sword around and going, we'll be fine, we'll work it out. I'll try not to hit you. You don't want to be hit, do you? Good, neither do I. We'll try not to. As opposed to having someone who knows what they're doing with a sword saying, here's how you don't hit each other, you know, but make it look like a real fight. And it's very, very similar. It's choreography. And once you have your choreography down, you get to concentrate on doing your actual acting work, which is a gift to your actors.
And then obviously the narrator of the show is a woman named Julie Andrews.
Julie Andrews. And we are all in awe.
What?
I mean, I sent a rather angry message to a couple of my friends at Shondaland when that was announced, because I had no warning whatsoever. I found out on Twitter, and I was like, you can't do this to me. I was on the train. I was like coming back from a boxing training session, and I literally yawped on the train. I was like, "Nah!" And everyone kind of turned and looked at me, and they're like, nothing. I mean, I can't tell you, and then just kind of melted into my seat in embarrassment. But it's incredibly exciting. It is an almost stupidly perfect casting, and we're all lucky to bask in its glow.
Well, thank you very much, sir. This is great. It was nice meeting you virtually.
Likewise. Absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time.